If you stand in the massive parking lot of NRG Park in Houston, Texas, and look out across the vast expanse of sun-baked pavement, you will see a landscape entirely defined by modern professional sports. You will see the sleek, towering, retractable roof of NRG Stadium, the billion-dollar home of the Houston Texans. But sitting right next to it, casting a massive circular shadow over the complex, is a silent, decaying giant. It spans 710 feet across, reaching 18 stories into the Texas sky. Its concrete walls are stained with age. Its entrances are padlocked, barricaded, and plastered with "Do Not Enter" signs. Its interior is completely dark, stripped of its seats, and used by the county as a massive, multi-million-dollar storage unit. No fan has watched a game inside this building in over 2 decades. No ticket has been sold. For more than 20 years, it has stood facing one of the most vibrant cities on Earth, serving as a towering, empty monument to a bygone era of American engineering. It cannot be easily saved, and because of its historical status, it cannot be easily erased. This is the Houston Astrodome, and this is the story of how the 8th wonder of the world became an unfixable, undemolishable, $750 million ghost. To understand how a massive, historic stadium can sit abandoned for a quarter of a century in the middle of a major American city, you have to understand the sheer ambition that built it. When the Astrodome opened its doors on April 9, 1965, it was an architectural triumph that redefined human capability. It was the world's first multi-purpose domed sports stadium, marking the dawn of the modern indoor arena era. Championed by former Houston Mayor Roy Hoffhines, it was designed to solve a brutal, inescapable problem: the suffocating heat, humidity, and mosquitoes of the Texas summer. With its massive 642-foot clear-span dome and revolutionary air conditioning system, it was meant to be a beacon of space-age prestige. It represented the future of American sports. But beneath the sleek mid-century design and the technological marvels, the builders made a critical miscalculation regarding the roof that would eventually force an invention that changed sports forever and set the stage for the building's eventual demise. Before we dive into the slow, painful decay of the Astrodome, a quick question. Do you enjoy these deep dives into massive engineering failures, abandoned megaprojects, and the hidden stories of our cities? If so, subscribe now and turn on the notification bell. Here on MadeFor, we bring you the most fascinating, high-stakes stories behind the world's biggest structures every single week. Subscribe using the link in the description or click the button below. Your support is what allows us to keep making these documentaries. Now, let us look at how the Astrodome became an abandoned concrete shell. The story of the Astrodome begins with pure, unadulterated Texas ambition. In the early 1960s, Houston was a booming oil town, desperate to prove it was a world-class city. When Major League Baseball awarded Houston a new franchise, the Colt 45s, the city rejoiced. But the reality of playing outdoor baseball in Houston during July and August quickly became apparent. The heat was oppressive, the humidity was suffocating, and the mosquitoes were relentless. Attendance suffered because fans simply could not endure the brutal conditions. Enter Roy Hoffhines, a larger-than-life politician and entrepreneur who realized that if professional sports were going to survive in Houston, they had to bring the outdoors inside. He proposed something that had never been done before: a fully enclosed, air-conditioned stadium large enough to hold a baseball field and 50,000 fans. The engineering required to build the Astrodome was unprecedented. The roof was a massive lamella structure, a complex web of interlocking steel beams that formed a self-supporting dome without a single interior column to block the view. The dome spanned 642 feet and sat 208 feet above the playing surface. To cool a space of this magnitude, engineers had to design a massive, revolutionary air conditioning system capable of moving 2.5 million cubic feet of air every single minute. When the building opened in 1965, it It was hailed as a modern marvel. They called it the eighth wonder of the world. The opening exhibition game against the New York Yankees was attended by President Lyndon B. Johnson, and Mickey Mantle hit the first indoor home run in baseball history. The Astrodome was not just a stadium, it was a symbol of the space age, a testament to the belief that human engineering could conquer nature itself. They originally relied on one thing to make the stadium work: natural sunlight. The Astrodome was built with thousands of transparent lucite skylight panels in its massive roof, designed to let natural grass grow on the indoor baseball field. For the opening games, the field was a pristine natural green, but almost immediately, a catastrophic flaw revealed itself. The massive web of steel girders holding up the transparent roof created a chaotic, blinding matrix of glare and shadows. Outfielders tracking fly balls simply could not see the baseball against the ceiling. Players were terrified of getting hit in the head by a ball falling from the rafters. It was a severe safety hazard and a competitive disaster. To fix the glare, engineers took the only immediate action available. They painted the transparent roof panels white. The glare was eliminated, and the outfielders could catch the ball. But by blocking the sun, they cut off the lifeblood of the field. Without sunlight, the natural grass died. By the middle of the 1965 season, the Astros were playing on dead, painted dirt. The solution to the dead grass problem arrived in 1966, when the Monsanto company installed a revolutionary new synthetic playing surface inside the stadium. Originally called ChemGrass, the product was quickly rebranded in honor of the building it saved. They called it AstroTurf. It was a technological miracle that allowed the stadium to function perfectly for the next 3 decades. AstroTurf solved the immediate problem, but it also fundamentally changed the way sports were played. The ball bounced faster, players ran quicker, but the hard surface underneath the thin carpet also led to a massive increase in knee and joint injuries. Despite the physical toll on the athletes, AstroTurf became the standard for stadiums across the country. It was the perfect encapsulation of the Astrodome's philosophy: if nature does not work, replace it with plastic and chemicals. For over 30 years, the building hosted everything from the Houston Oilers and the Houston Astros to Elvis Presley, Muhammad Ali, and the legendary Battle of the Sexes tennis match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. It hosted massive rodeos, college bowl games, and religious crusades. It was the undisputed king of American stadiums, an iconic centerpiece of Houston. But the very things that made the Astrodome revolutionary in the 1960s made it obsolete by the late 1990s. The cascading failures began with the economics of modern sports. The Astrodome was designed as a multi-purpose stadium, a giant concrete circle meant to accommodate both baseball and football. But by the late 1990s, teams realized that multi-purpose stadiums were terrible for fans. The seats were too far away from the action. Furthermore, the Astrodome lacked the modern luxury suites, club seating, and premium concourse amenities that new professional sports franchises demanded to generate massive revenue. The building was structurally sound, but financially it was dying. The owner of the Houston Oilers, Bud Adams, demanded a new taxpayer-funded stadium. When the city refused, he packed up the team and moved them to Tennessee in 1997. A few years later, the Astros threatened to leave unless they got a new baseball-only stadium with a retractable roof. The city caved, and the Astros moved to a new downtown ballpark in the year 2000, when the massive state-of-the-art NRG Stadium opened right next door in 2002 to house the new Houston Texans football team. The Astrodome was officially rendered obsolete. The final major event, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, packed up and moved next door. The doors were locked, the power was scaled back. The Astrodome has not had a permanent revenue-generating tenant since. What followed the closure was not a swift demolition, but a multi-decade parade of politicians, real estate speculators, and historic preservationists, all believing they were the one who could figure out what to do with the massive concrete cylinder. In 2005, the building experienced a brief, tragic resurrection. When Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans, the Astrodome was hastily converted into a massive emergency shelter. Approximately 27,000 evacuees who had fled the catastrophic flooding arrived at the stadium. For a few chaotic weeks, the Astrodome served as a city within a city, providing cots, medical care, and a roof over the heads of desperate people who had lost everything. It was a profoundly humanitarian moment, and the stadium became a symbol of Houston's resilience and generosity. But when the evacuees eventually left, the building returned to its silent, empty state. Then, the final death blow arrived. In 2008, the Houston Fire Department conducted a massive inspection of the aging facility. When they turned on the stadium's sprinkler system to test the fire suppression capabilities, they uncovered massive systemic failures. The inspectors cited the building for 9 severe fire code violations. The building was not just obsolete, it was officially a safety hazard. The city ordered a massive evacuation of the few remaining maintenance workers and security personnel. The doors were chained. The Astrodome was officially condemned for public use. In 2013, the county executed a partial interior demolition, ripping out the iconic seats, dismantling the turf, and selling off pieces of the stadium as souvenirs to nostalgic fans. What remained was a massive, hollow concrete shell. But why is it still standing? Why not just tear it down? Because the Astrodome is caught in what urban planners call the double lock. The first lock is the staggering cost of renovation. Even though the building is structurally sound, it has been sitting without air conditioning in the brutal Houston humidity for 2 decades. The mechanical systems are destroyed. The plumbing is useless. To bring the 18-story stadium up to modern fire and safety codes, before you even begin building anything new inside it, requires hundreds of millions of dollars. In late 2025, Harris County released a massive engineering study detailing the brutal mathematics of the Astrodome. The cost to execute a basic, bare-bones renovation of the structure, just fixing the plumbing and the heating, ventilation and air conditioning, with no modern amenities or historic preservation features, was estimated at an astonishing $752 million. The cost to save the building vastly exceeds any logical economic return on investment. The second lock is the legal and cultural barrier to demolition. The engineering study estimated that simply demolishing the Astrodome and clearing the site would cost approximately $55 million. Financially, demolition is the only rational choice. It is $700 million cheaper than fixing it. But you cannot simply implode a building that holds the cultural weight of the Astrodome. Over the years, preservationists have fought a relentless, highly successful legal war to protect the structure. The Astrodome is deeply tied to the identity of Houston. It represents a time when the city was the center of the space race, a booming metropolis where anything was possible. In 2014, the building was added to the National Register of Historic Places. In 2017, it was designated a Texas State Antiquities Landmark, granting it severe legal protections against alteration or destruction. And in April 2026, the National Park Service announced that the Astrodome officially qualifies for consideration as a National Historic Landmark. This is the highest level of historic protection in the United States, a status shared by fewer than 3,000 sites nationwide. To demolish the Astrodome, the county would have to fight a massive, highly public legal battle against the state and federal government, outraging millions of Texans in the process. The cost to erase the building in political capital and legal fees exceeds the value of the empty dirt it sits on. So the Astrodome does what any building caught in the double lock does. It rots. By 2024, the rot became a bizarre spectacle. The county, desperate for space and unwilling to tear the building down, began using the massive historic stadium floor as a giant storage closet. Today, if you looked inside the dark, echoing cavern of the eighth wonder of the world, you would not see a pristine baseball diamond. You would see piles of unused turf rolls, spare stadium seats, maintenance equipment, and broken golf carts. The building that once hosted the President of the United States and the biggest stars on the planet is now a $55 million garage. Over the years, developers pitched increasingly desperate fantastical plans to break the double lock. In 2013, the county put a $217 million bond proposal on the ballot, asking taxpayers to fund a massive conversion of the stadium into a giant convention and exhibit space. The voters rejected the plan, 53% to 47%. In 2016, a scaled-down $105 million plan called the New Dome Experience was approved by the county, but it stalled out and died in the bureaucratic maze of funding and politics. And in 2024, a private group called the Astrodome Conservancy unveiled a massive $1 billion proposal to completely gut the interior and build a mixed-use complex of hotels, restaurants, and cultural institutions inside the concrete shell. But like all the plans before it, it requires hundreds of millions of dollars in private investment that simply does not exist. It is the ultimate real estate Hail Mary, using the nostalgia of the past to try and justify the astronomical cost of fixing an unfixable stadium. As of late 2026, the Astrodome sits in a state of absolute purgatory. On one side, the county knows that a $750 million renovation is political suicide. On the other side, preservationists have ensured that a $55 million demolition is legally impossible. What was the terrible engineering behind the Astrodome? It was not a collapsing roof or a sinking foundation. It was a failure of foresight. It was the hubris of building a massive single-purpose concrete monolith, assuming that the economics of professional sports would never change, and believing that a stadium could last forever without evolving. The engineering that made it possible in the 1960s was miraculous, but the failure to adapt it for the 21st century has turned it into a 208-foot-tall tombstone. Today, the Astrodome stands as a 710-foot wide warning overlooking Houston. It is a permanent monument to the moment a city realizes that building a revolutionary stadium is easy, but getting rid of one is almost impossible. What do you think? Should Harris County fight the historic preservation laws and force the demolition of the Astrodome to finally clear the land? Or is a $1 billion private renovation plan the miracle the building has been waiting for? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button and subscribe to MadeFor. We will see you in the next video.